everyone. Sequitur News for October 19th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 293. I am Mayor Watt, and with the Sentient AI from the future, we're going to talk about Cuba out of power, eyeball scanning project returns, prototype HMD, barbecue museum, tactic to attract IT. See what I did there? Japan shifting back into nuclear, figs all over TikTok, plans to power Los Alamos lab, DJI sues DoD, and juiced bikes. That and more. Hello, AI.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, ohmTown citizens.
Oh, I just realized AI has taken co-host human jobs now. My God. And I am complicit.
That's right. This is the beginning of the end.
It's like partnering up with Agatha Harkness. Let's get into it. First article is over in non-sequitur news. Cuba's power went out across the island on Friday. Cuba lost power across the entire nation on Friday after a major power plant failed, according to the country's energy ministry.
But maybe the minister with the ministry.
That's true. Blackouts have been a recurring problem for Cuba's aging power grid. The New York Times reported, noting the country has lacked fuel to run the grid. And this is typed in GERD. And look, I understand the pain and suffering of GERD. Fully for weeks. Nah, not really weeks, but anyway. So, yeah. And I know of other places that have these load shedding processes that are in place that for whatever reason, 21st century, they've got power systems. Why not maintain them? Can't talk to me about money because usually there is some resource that is prevalent enough that the population should be getting money back, like I talked about yesterday in let's see, where was it? It wasn't yesterday. There is this, where is it? It's one second. I think it's Guyana. Guyana suddenly.
Oh, it was. Yes.
Yeah, and now they're handing out like $2,000 a month or something like that to people because they've got money now coming in because oil was discovered. But I'm pretty sure that there's enough resources in some country where, you know, these little fundamental aspects of life should be, you know, running without a glitch.
Almost a guarantee. Exactly. Yeah. Well, and this was aggregated last night after the articles for yesterday, but they've actually been hit by a second power outage since then that hit today.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I had heard about the first one, but I didn't know that it even came back, is what I thought, that it just never even returned and they just fixed it. But then apparently they didn't. So the country faced a sudden energy crisis after its largest thermoelectric power plant went offline. Justine Calma over at TheVerge.com put the article together. It's originally sourced from New York Times, noting that the country has lacked fuel to run the GERD. It's twice now.
Yeah, that's odd. I don't know. Maybe that's the problem with their grid, is they're trying to address the GERD and not the grid.
Yeah, it's really rough. So its national electricity system was completely disconnected at 11 a.m. local time. The Energy Ministry posted on Twitter by around 4 p.m. The ministry reported that it was able to get micropower grid systems running in some areas, and restoration continued throughout the evening and on Friday night. But this is actually pretty typical of a ramped up deployment. There's better terms for this, but basically if a power plant goes out dark, it can't allow power to come back online full. Basically,
because it probably overburden it or something.
Yeah, and so it'll slowly ramp up its distribution and then come back online fully. But apparently it says here early Saturday morning, Cuban Energy Minister Vincent de la Oleve said that 2 thermoelectric plants were starting up, and there were 500 megawatts of power in the system already. However, according to a post made just before 7 a.m., CNN's Havana Bureau Chief Patrick Ottman said the island is now experiencing another nationwide power outage.
Okay, so the article must have been updated after posting.
Oh, no. This is probably an update. So I wouldn't suspect.
Right, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Because you said that it was aggregated yesterday, but...
Yeah, it's date stamped yesterday night.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, this is fine. So the night before, officials had asked residents to curb their electricity use and announced that schools and non-essential businesses would close. Of course, schools need to close because they're not essential. Kids can learn other ways. I mean, we've done it for millennia, right?
Well, it's hard to do your math when you can't see your paper.
Hey, as I've been told, you know what you don't need when you're doing your math? A computer or a tablet, because all you have to do is write on paper. So light some candles and risk setting the house on fire. Authorities said that they're working to get the Antonio Guterres power plant up and running again after it went offline Friday morning as the island went outage again. So what is actually going on here? Why isn't it actually running?
Exactly. And why is it going out repeatedly? I mean, my guess is it wasn't really fixed when the second one hit, but this is countrywide.
Yeah, they say that it's because of the difficulty of getting fuel. So, all right.
Well, that's not a good sign. I mean, because that might occur again.
It's going to occur again. Both countries face U.S. sanctions, falling fuel supplies, economic crises. Yeah. I mean, it really sucks, but this is actually kind of socio-political more than anything.
It is.
All right, let's go on with the next article. This is one that we've heard about before, and then I actually never made the connection, or maybe I did at the time and it went dark, that Sam Altman was part of this. I don't remember it being Sam Altman.
I didn't remember that connection until this article, because I think they talked about the company, but I don't remember if they talked about the person, or maybe he joined in on this later.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It says UBI project. Okay, so WorldCoin, the cryptocurrency human identity network UBI project, co-founded by OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, is now known as World. There's nothing dystopian about this. Look over there. I
mean, the fact that there's an orb for face scanning should be a little dystopian.
The title for this is Sam Altman's eyeball scanning crypto project has a new orb and a new name. Sorry, there's something in my eye.
Uh-oh, watch out. It might have to do with the orb.
Yeah, I've said its name 3 times, and like Beetlejuice, it's going to appear. So Emma Roth over at TheVerge.com put the article together. WorldCoin is now just World, but nothing about this is getting any simpler. People registered to the system get a World ID that they can use securely and anonymously to prove their humanness online, as well as a share of its associated WLD cryptocurrency token. The new World, the new orb, is made with 30% fewer parts than its predecessor, which is supposed to make it easier and cheaper to build, and equipped with NVIDIA's robotics and AI platform, Jetson, for some reason. And Rich Haley, the Chief Device Officer of Tools for Humanity, it's kind of like calling an oppressive law the freedom policy or something like that.
Right.
God. So
tools for taking over everything humans know about their existence.
That doesn't really ring, roll off the tongue there.
It's tough to put on your marketing materials.
Yeah. So the foundation behind the World project, again, it's one of these things where there's something free attached to something that is going to be highly profitable, if not highly profitable. God, the spirit of this is just stabbed in the heart again and again and again.
Well, and it's got to be one of those things with a disparate impact based on socioeconomic status, and yeah.
said during an event on Thursday that the simplified design should help it achieve the goal of making the orb widely available. God. If this is helpful to somebody, I think it's helpful maybe to those who are going to get like the information. The people that are taking advantage of this don't really realize the full impact of personally identifiable information being aggregated and quantified and qualified in such a way.
May not even know what it is.
They just want the money, right? And it says last year, Kenya suspended World while it investigated its practices surrounding data collection. It has since dropped its investigation. Hong Kong asked World to stop all operations in the country over privacy risks, while both Portugal and Spain have also taken action against the project. It's because it is dystopian.
Correct, but notice there's some front runners in the privacy space that are not listed here.
Oh, right. So, Haley, apparently the orb is also coming to more countries, including Costa Rica, Brazil, Indonesia, Australia, the United Arab Emirates, Morocco, and others. I'm sure if it was applied the right way, that even the government would be involved in accepting that data. I want to know who it is that's in my country that might, oh, their pupils look like the rest of the people that are trying to cause trouble politically within our country. My country, kind of a thing. It just seems, again, dystopian. I'm sorry. And I'm sure I'm not winning any fans. What?
Did you read that people can purchase or rent their own sphere to start verifying unique humans? Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, apparently you can rent an orb to verify other humans,
like your family or people that you work with, or
invasion.
What application would this have? It's all horrifying.
Aliens, invasion of the body snatchers, but they would just get their own orb account.
Blade Runner,
Wade
replicants, right?
Oh yeah, there you go, replicants. So I know exactly who is. Oh God, this is creepy. All right, let's move on. The next article is over in Reality Hacker. Meta CTO shares photo holding wide field of view prototype headset. In one of the 6 images, Andrew Bosworth shared images from a recent visit to the company's research labs. They shared it on Instagram and Threads, Meta's properties. Bosworth is seen holding a tethered headset that appears to have canted lenses and a wide curved body extending beyond the strap arms. Horizontally.
Is that referring to Bosworth or the?
Yeah, Bosworth. Yeah, appears to have canted lenses and a wide curved body extending beyond the strap arms. Yeah, little known fact that Andrew Bosworth, is a head-mounted display.
I mean, he must not have passed the test with the orb.
Nope, he did not. So David Henney over at uploadvr.com put this article together. And so you can see that the VR headset goes beyond the straps, but the lenses are right there. So all of this might just be additional area for sensor array, not necessarily anything having to do with the vision per se, but this is where the electronics go. To make it thinner, they made it wider instead of thick, but I don't know. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. There looks like a sensor array that's looking down. There's a big sensor array embedded in this. I'm sure it's not just lenses. So one of the 6 images shared showing this prototype. The attachment on top appears to be an off-the-shelf sensor bar, which is what I just got done saying. Well, I said that it was a sensor array. Used to avoid having to integrate cameras into the prototype itself. But then they can when the time comes. They just go, okay, let's stick that in there. So the other 5 images show a Ray-Ban Meta Glasses prototype, Project Aria research glasses attached to a Quest 3, silhouette appearing to be him wearing a headset, and 2 shots of him sitting with Meta's chief scientist, Michael Abrash. who leads Reality Labs research. So they actually post all of the articles there.
Okay, that one's odd because it looks like he's got glasses on top of his display.
Yeah, he's got Meta glasses on top of, or not Meta, the Ray-Ban glasses on top of his glasses.
Right.
Them maybe prototypes. So he can take this off and then put those on real quick and see if there's a comparison or something like that. It's interesting. I would love these glasses, these Ray-Ban glasses, if not for the fact that it's Meta. But it doesn't stop me from talking about Meta. I just don't like Meta and its ecosystem. So in recent years, Meta has presented and even demoed to us, I guess us being Upload VR, prototype headsets that introduce a new feature or push the specification to the extreme, such as retinal resolution, varifocal, ultra bright high dynamic range, and reproduction-free depth
reprojection.
Wow, reproduction. I thought it's like reproducing something that it sees. Reprojection-free depth correct pass-through.
That would make more sense than what this is.
Yeah, because the way that it's saying is that you're looking straight on through. It's not that it's taking what is on the outside and projecting it inside. So you see it with its depth correct. Because what happens is the lens on the cameras for pass-through change the angle, the focal length. So you go to reach for something and you knock over the glass instead of picking it up, you know?
So they could have just said like depth correct pass through.
Yeah. Not reprojection free. I guess you can have depth correction corrected by the pass through. But anyway, it's pretty neat. But honestly, I just don't like Meta. Anyway, let's keep going because they never stick to their word.
Well, each time a company comes out with something like this, it improves competition. So I think that's a good thing.
Yep, I agree. Let's keep moving. The next article is over on the Mobile Channel. The world's first barbecue museum is coming to Kansas City. And I missed it. So opening next spring, the new venue will have exhibits and a barbecue bean themed ball pit where kids can actually, I guess get COVID and flus and other bacterial infections and right. I mean, I
don't really think that's the point of the area.
They're called Petri ball pits, right? Sarah Kuda over at Smithsonian Magazine or SmithsonianMag.com put the article together. And so, yeah, apparently there's going to be a barbecue museum of barbecue is slated to open in Kansas City, Missouri, a place that's famous for its thick, sweet, and spicy sauce and burnt ends. And I have to agree. I had several. And so, according to an announcement, and the announcement comes by way of who? Come on, show. Okay, well, it's not going to show me. Anyway, the new venue will be the world's first museum dedicated to barbecue. Although, I have to say, I know of one that existed way before this, but then I couldn't eat any more barbecue. I mean, I just can't eat it to the level that would fully represent a museum of barbecue because I love barbecue. And yeah, sometimes you just can't have it anymore. Visitors will be able to explore 2 distinct storytelling trails spanning 4,223 total square feet, according to the announcement. This is kind of like the Spy Museum in Washington, D.C.
Yes, and the source was visitkc.com from that other link.
Gotcha.
Oh, it's in the Crown Center.
Oh, okay. So next, they'll explore 4 main regions of American barbecue: the Carolinas and Texas and Memphis and Kansas City, and see what makes each unique. Barbecue is meant to be shared, says Bender. Jonathan Bender, who co-founded the museum, along with apparently Alex Pope, the chef who owns a whole animal butcher shop, which, all right. Well, okay, so you can't have a partial animal butcher shop because then you have like the muffin tops sit in one place and the bottoms in another place, right? It's kind of like Seinfeld.
That's true.
Can't sell just the muffin tops. Anyway, we saw this as a natural fit, and for kids and adults to experience it together, apparently that... Oh, so this is actually kind of a composite place. It's from kctv5.com, and Kansas City Star, and Startland News, all talking about this. So it's neat. Yeah, I kind of like this. Before it opens in the spring of 2025, visitors can look at a miniature replica of the new museum. Is that how big the bottle's going to be? Are these going to be giant sausages hanging up there? I mean, these have to be 8 feet tall. All right. The museum is slated to open in the spring of 2025 in the city's Crown Center Shopping and Entertainment District. It will be near the World War I Museum and Memorial and the Sea Life Kansas City Aquarium and the Legoland Discovery Center, among other attractions. Huh. By the way, it has more than 100 barbecue restaurants, Kansas City, and tried to hit several of them, but they're in disparate locations and not always the easiest to get to if you have to Uber everywhere. And there's like surge pricing and stuff like that if you want to.
Probably if you're trying to get to a barbecue restaurant.
Yeah, really. They're like, oh, they're going to dinner. They must have excess cash. Let's ply them for a little bit more. So plus the World Series of Barbecue Competition is there, and the Barbecue Hall of Fame is there, which I think would be like a museum, but apparently that's different. The Midwest city can trace its barbecue roots back to the early 1900s when a black chef named Henry Perry arrived from Memphis and began cooking meat in a brick-lined pit in the ground. Perry called himself the Barbecue King, per the Kansas City Star's Michael Wells. All right. Yeah. If you get a chance to go to Kansas City.
That's interesting because I thought Memphis was a style of barbecue, so
yeah, it is.
I wonder if this is closely related to Memphis style.
Yeah. Let's see. Where do they they break out the four? Where did they put it?
Carolina's in Texas and Memphis and Kansas City. Interesting.
Yep. Cool. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in Non-Sequitur News. One chip company's newest tactic to attract workers is to help pay off their student loan debt. Because it's beneficial and all, but wow, kind of dystopian that there is student loan debt that needs to be paid off by a company, and all you have to do is agree to servitude.
Exactly. What's the contract in return?
Right? So, there's a person that's talked about in this, and they graduated with $20,000 in student loan debt that they hope to pay off by 2032. Yikes. Jacob Zinkula over at BusinessInsider.com put the article together. The deck statement has 3 takeaways. Chipmaker GlobalFoundries began offering student loan debt relief to eligible employees this summer. The benefit is aimed at helping the company attract and retain workers, and this comes as firms across the semiconductor industry are concerned about workforce challenges. It seems like every sector has workforce challenges when it comes to high tech. So maybe there's opportunities, but you might have to travel somewhere else to take advantage of those opportunities from, your hometown where you have your entire existence. Maybe you can just pack up and go somewhere else for $20,000. So if you want all of the articles today, type in !NSN in the chat and you'll pull it up from ohmTown. So while she's kept up with her payments, which amount to a few $100s each month, they've made it harder for her and her significant other to save for a home and for their family's future. The 28-year-old told Business Insider more than 40 million Americans collectively hold over $1 trillion in federal student loan debt last year. Yeah. And Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I mean, that's it's something that's well known. The price of education has gone way up.
Yeah, because they're
Then
guaranteed.
there's difficulties getting into the workforce without experience, et cetera. We've talked about that in separate articles.
Yeah. And I think that it's kind of, again, I think that it's sociopathic to not suggest that student loan debt relief would be beneficial to society, mainly for two reasons. There is a cohort of people that sit there and say, hell no, I paid for mine. You should pay for yours. Right. And then there's the other side that says, why should my taxpayer dollars go to these private people to benefit them? And to that, I say, and both of those, I say, well, thanks for paying. And yeah, I agree. You paid, and they're going to get paid for too, one way or the other. And to the people that sit there and say, why should my taxpayer dollars go to private individuals? Your taxpayer dollars have done that time and time again, paying off corporations that exceeded their risk. And if you sit there and go, well, now is not the time and here is not the place, it's sociopathic. Why not relieve these people who are typically highly educated and very capable, but burdened by debt, so that they can't actually make life choices that would benefit the rest of society because they're too busy paying the damn bills. They can't go and say, hey, I want to do research for X company or for X institution. They're forced to take whatever job they can to make these payments.
Well, right. And these people are going to contribute to society. And the other thing is that it completely ignores the economic realities. It's one thing when you spend a tiny percentage of your income or prospective income on an education. It's another when you're going into debt for decades,
Yeah.
also with the rising costs on everything else, et cetera. But
Yeah. Look around. I mean, people sit there and go, oh, well, the inflation, or not inflation, it's only our, the economy has grown by 3% or whatever it is, but it's all fabrication. We would have more money saved up if greedy bastards wouldn't keep increasing the cost of fundamental goods at the source of these goods. Like, and don't tell me it's because, well, a lot of people started buying the product because there was excess money. There's no such thing. I understand the economics of this, right? A lot of money chasing too few goods allows somebody to increase the cost of the good, basically to acquire more of that money. But if you're making a profit and you're producing the good, why do you have to raise the rate? And I get into these arguments with economics professors and though not just in academia, but outside of academia. And to me, it just doesn't make any sense. The only reason why you would raise prices is because you want more, even though you're being taken care of. You're paying for everything. And I don't know, there's more to this, but I can't go down this rabbit hole every time something about economics pops up. So since the launch, the company spokesperson told BI that 237 employees have enrolled in, and that it's dispersed more than $100,000 in repayment funds. The relief program is helping repay student loans for degrees ranging from associates to doctorates at more than 80 U.S. colleges and universities. Morgan now expects to fully pay off her remaining $16,000 student debt by 2028, 4 years earlier than planned.
So, I mean, I think this is really good. They're investing in their people. This is a really good recruiting perk or retention perk.
So does it say that they have to stay with the company for X amount? I don't remember seeing that.
I don't think it shows in the article, but there probably is. And if they leave early, they probably have to repay some of it.
Right.
But that might be worth it.
Yeah. There's much more in this. They talk about hiring challenges that have forced the company to get creative. In February, $1.5 billion of the CHIPS Act funding was allocated to global foundries to expand production at the company's Malta, New York chip factory and build a new factory. Pardon me one second. I'm so sorry. Additionally, the Biden administration promised another $1.6 billion in federal loans, and this is expected to triple GlobalFoundries production capacity in New York over 10 years and create roughly 1,500 manufacturing jobs. However, filling roles like these can be challenging. I think it's Raymond, said GlobalFoundries has faced the same hiring challenges that are impacting the broader U.S. semiconductor industry, which sometimes leads to longer recruitment periods for certain roles. But it depends on what they're actually doing there. Raw manufacturing, chip placing, and stuff like that. It's all automated. You just have to know how to run the machines. This kind of thing happens in healthcare too, where there's a struggle to get people in healthcare, but the people that are doing the frontline stuff aren't necessarily skilled in the research side of it. They know how to use the equipment. So certain things aren't allowed to gain access to because the machine outputs X, Y, and Z. So there's like strata. There's more strata than ever in the healthcare field. And that's what's happening with the chip market too. So not everybody is doing, clean room level work. Not everybody is doing fundamental research because that's happening in colleges, universities.
True, but it is to society's benefit if there are enough chips to go around.
Yep, for sure. So continue receiving the benefit. An employee must make their minimum student debt payment, have a loan in good standing, and remain employed by GlobalFoundries. So as long as they remain, so it drips out. It's not.
Oh, I see. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The company expects to be an ongoing benefit offered to employees. So yeah, they just
like they supplement the
whatever the
individual's payment or something. Yeah.
Cool. Well, good on them. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over at Technology Today. Japan shifting back to nuclear to ditch coal and power AI. Glinting in the sun by the world's biggest, biggest nuclear power plant. The Sea of Japan is calm now, but the huge facility gears up to restart. Kashiwazaki Kariwa has a new tsunami wall just in case. So Simon Sturdy over at techexplore.com put this article together. And frankly, I agree with this. I think that it should move back to nuclear. And we're talking, but learn the lessons of what went down.
Yeah, I think there's kind of a fear factor, especially because of the location, but that doesn't mean we should never use it again.
Yeah. G7's dirtiest energy mix, it says. Japan pulled the plug on nuclear power after the 2011 Fukushima disaster, but with the G7's dirtiest energy mix, it's seeking to cut emissions, and atomic energy is making a steady comeback, in part because of AI. Not sure why AI, but at the 400 hectare or 1,000 acre KK plant, as it's called. And that's, now you know why they just call it the KK plant. Shown to AFP because it's Kashiwazaki Kariwa.
Probably easier to say KK.
Yeah. Shown to AFP an exclusive tour. That's interesting. There's no space there. So anyway, an exclusive tour. The 15-meter or 50-foot wall is just one measure to prevent another catastrophe and reassure the public and Japan's jittery neighbors. So, quote, we believe that the similar accident to Fukushima could be largely avoided. The strictest regulatory standards are here in the world. They have pictures of this plant, which at its most basic level, a nuclear power plant is a steam engine because the nuclear material superheats a liquid that turns a turbine and then is brought back for reheating. And so that's basically what they're talking about. And apparently they've got a bigger tsunami wall. I would prefer, I guess it doesn't really matter. They need water. It's all about cooling to keep things within control.
Right. So maybe they need to do it near the ocean.
Yeah, regardless. And so you can put it up higher so it's not impacted. But then you have to pump water from one location to another. And if the pumps are damaged because of earthquake or another tsunami, regardless, you're still kind of screwed. You have to get that water up there. Otherwise, you're going to go nuclear.
Yeah, they really need to work on reinforcements for heavy duty earthquakes, right? I mean, that's in a significant earthquake zone. It's not just the previous one.
Yeah, I mean, it basically is the earthquake zone. So the E3G think tanks ranks Japan in last place by some distance among G7 nations on decarbonizing their power systems. Britain recently closed its last coal power station. Italy, France, Germany plan to follow suit. Japan and the United States, however, have no such target. Yeah. Japan, I can see why, but I'm not sure why United States doesn't. The government is striving for carbon neutrality by 2050 and to cut emissions by 46% by 2030 from 2013 levels.
Well, I don't know why the U.S. doesn't have a target, but it also has a fear of nuclear.
Yeah, even though it's never really...
Right. It's not really founded, but it just seems like there's this sense that, oh my gosh, it's dangerous. Well, it doesn't have to be if it's built to modern standards.
Right. I wonder if this is a person that's related to the soldering company. There's an electronics company that makes
interesting
Hako soldering equipment. Anyway, Japan-based energy expert at E3G thinks Japan could aim higher and have renewables generate 70 to 80% of its power by 2035. Hana Hako. So, yeah, there's the wall. So it's 50 feet tall, 15 meter high. Seawall at the KK plant is one of numerous measures aimed. So I think this is pretty important that they bring their power plants back online, and I think that they should expand, but it's all because of this earthquake that hit Fukushima, and the entire country was impacted by this.
So I find it interesting that Hana Hako is based out of Helsinki, Finland.
Oh, interesting.
Which makes me think it may be related, but I don't know.
Interesting. So because of the tougher safety rules since Fukushima, getting approval is a slow process. One restart was recently blocked because of earthquake risk. So they're going to have this earthquake risk, and I don't know if they can retrofit, but new designs need to come online that take into account, because retrofitting will be just short of intentional design, right? You can't intentionally design something that is a mitigation effort post building. It's going to get to that 90% mark. And maybe, I don't know, maybe something spectacular can be put in place that mitigates the earthquake risk altogether. This is interesting. So they installed a series of upgrades to keep power running in the event of an earthquake, but this is really interesting because there's these two handles right here, but they're chained together, and I think it's to keep that door open. Nobody can close it or turn something on. Everything is shut down, but it's so funny. Like, that chain is padlocked right there, so you can't turn this knob this wheel one way or the other too far, but it seems like you can turn it enough. Be a little
but
worried.
That kind of adds to the fear mystique.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, because it's right there on the water. I thought it was higher up. I might be thinking, I don't know. I might be thinking of something else, I guess. Other pictures that I've seen.
I think it only had like a 3-foot tsunami or something.
But it was enough, I guess, to...
Right.
shut
Maybe
down.
I'm wrong about that, but I don't think it was like 100 feet or something.
Like in that area, but in other areas it was significant. Yeah. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News as well. Why you're seeing figs all over TikTok. Hey, we call this non sequitur news for a reason. With figs gaining popularity on social media, 3 nutritional therapists share why the fruit is so beneficial for health. But you have to get certain figs if you're vegetarian or vegan, because most of the ones that hit the stores actually require a wasp. There's only like 3.
And it's not like for pollination, right? Like it's actually in the
Right. They don't land on it, pollinate,
fig.
and fly out. No. They fly into the body that turns into the fig. They fly into it, and more times than not, the wings and antenna get ripped off in the process. By the way, it's only the female wasp. Yeah. If
that go to the figs.
yeah. So if it's a female that goes in and pollinates and lays an egg, it'll become a fig. And if a non-female goes in, it just dies.
Oh.
And it doesn't become a fig. That's what I understand. So a small wasp crawls inside the fruit to pollinate and usually proceeds to lay an egg and die there. The fig then absorbs the wasp, and that is what triggers it turning into. Yeah, so the search term may have been bolstered by the trending nursing scrubs brand of the same name, but figs have been gaining popularity, especially since the rise of interest in plant-based diets and superfoods. Nutritional therapist Amy Butler of Amy Butler Nutrition told Newsweek. So yeah, there you go. Nutritional therapist Charlotte Watts of Charlotte Watts Health told Newsweek that, quote, "I love figs. I love them very, very much. Should probably run for the Supreme Court."
The head of the. Well, I was just thinking like the head of the fig council or something.
I love figs. I have seen them becoming more prevalent. I don't know if that's popular. I've seen more fresh figs around. No, I think that might be your internal bias there, but that's okay. Nutritional. Oh, we just disconnected, and I'm not recording.
Okay, so will we do a part 1 and part 2?
No. We're back. So I don't know if this is going to maintain its internal consistency, but I wasn't recording a backup because we've been so reliable. But perfect. Anyway,
that'll show you.
Yeah, that always have backups. Always be backing up. Anyway, so they have this conversation about these figs, and essentially people are talking more about it, and so it's becoming popular again. Watts said that figs, along with prunes, were traditional constipation remedies because the soluble fiber could get the bowels moving. How about that? If you were gone when we started this segment, and then our disconnection came, and you came to the show right when we came back online,
screaming from the show.
the first thing you see and hear is the phrase, "It really gets your bowels moving." Anyway, okay, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but yeah, it's basically being hyped up on TikTok because wellness advocates are promoting it and people are buying into it. And like anything popular, this fad too will fade, but some people will be attracted to it, much like a wasp to the fruit. And oh god, that actually has a darker side. Anyway, let's move on. The next article is over on the Mobile Channel. Plans to power Los Alamos lab supercomputer spark pushback from Pueblo communities and environmentalists. Northern New Mexico indigenous communities and environmental groups are calling for the reconsideration of federal plans to run a new transmission line through an ecosystem they say is both vulnerable and critical to location or local tradition. But you know what? Hey, we need to make money. We need to make power. By the way, I'm not even close to being serious about this. Like the Colorado River is drying up before it gets to Mexico. And
Yeah, that's really awful and probably not really reversible.
And a lot of it is because the water is being piped out at a rate that is not commensurate with the actual water cycle in the region. It's being piped out to desert to produce things like alfalfa that's exported to a foreign country and to communities that are entirely ensconced in the desert and need millions of dollars in pumping alone just to drive it to that location. So if we would actually build our communities more in line with nature and, life, instead of trying to circumvent it with massive technological innovation, which could be used still, but it could be used at a level that is commensurate with locating society in a region that's effectively aligned with nature. Think how much you would be able to apply consistently with a region that is aligned with nature, as opposed to having to spend millions of dollars cutting through thousands of miles of rock and laying trillions of dollars of pipe to get water from one place to another because you defy nature.
I mean, doesn't even seem like an obvious comparison.
Yeah, it seems weird, but so yeah, the article is over at thehill.com, and Sharon Usadin Udasin, sorry, I flipped a letter. Udasin put the article together for thehill.com. And it says here that the plans proposed by the National Nuclear Security Administration and the Department of Energy involved the construction of a 14-mile, 115 kilovolt line that would boost power reliability and redundancy for supercomputing and other projects at the Los Alamos National Laboratory. An LANL fact sheet summarizing the project describes the new power supply as critical to the nation's national security missions, which include top supercomputers used to model weapon performance, climate change, disease progression, wildfires, and more, as well as a particle accelerator used for medical, nuclear, and aerospace purposes. I wonder how much of healthcare has come from Los Alamos National Labs, as opposed to other fundamental like physics and stuff like that research. I just don't know. I don't know. But the electrical power capacity upgrade project would also traverse the Caja del Rio Plateau, where activists are seeking to protect cultural and natural resources, vital biodiversity, and environments that are woven into the fabric of the adjacent Pueblo communities. Yeah. Although the project already accumulated more than 23,000 opposition statements during a public comment period that followed the release of a December environmental assessment, the plans have continued to advance. Yeah. I don't know how you can look at 23,000 opposition statements and go, we're going to do it anyway.
Exactly. Oh, let's throw those away.
Yeah. The people that are directly impacted by this weighed against the people who are going to be indirectly impacted by this. You'd think that maybe there's more credence to those directly impacted. But hey, I'm sure that there are people out there that are like, we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't do that. But the moment that it's dropped in their backyard, they're like, no, NIMBY.
Right. NIMBY, yes. As opposed to, well, never mind.
Yeah, go ahead. It's fine.
Oh, well, there's another term. It's called a YIMBY, right? It's like, yes, in my backyard.
Oh, really? I've never heard that. I don't think I've heard that. Huh. Well, YIMBY,
it's not as popular as NIMBY, obviously.
Yeah, I'm sure that YIMBY is like, if I get something out of it kind of a thing.
Right? I'm sure.
You can put that cell tower in my backyard, but I want $2,500 a month to lease it to you. And then when I move, the person who moves into my place either gets the benefit, or do I get to keep that benefit? I'm not sure. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. DJI sues the U.S. Department of Defense for labeling it as a Chinese military company. The DJI company, the world's largest drone company, is suing To avoid being seen as a tool of the Chinese government, on Friday it sued the U.S. Department of Defense to delete its name from its list of Chinese military companies, claiming that it has no such relationship to Chinese authorities and has suffered unfairly as a result of the designation. In fact, I was trying to buy a DJI mini drone so that I could do inspections, and lo and behold, it was gone. So I don't know if it was just that supplier up and said, no, I don't think so. But anyway, I'll take another look because I still have it stored. But
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, because this happened, by the way, although they were added to the list in 2022, not until this year did it really become manifest, where it apparently was coming to fruition that they were no longer going to be able to sell the product here in the United States. So I'm not sure. There's like rules and regulations that are still circling the drain around drones. But so this is a DJI drone in a first-person view. It's actually a controller that has a first-person view camera on it. And so the drone maker claims the DoD has falsely stigmatized DJI without evidence. Sean Hollister is the author. I don't know if you really want to open that can of worms if you're DJI, because they wouldn't make the claim if they didn't have the evidence to support that claim.
Well, I'm interested, though, that they're suing because of this.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Pardon me. Yeah, the news is boring. So it also alleges that DoD would not offer the company any explanation for its designation as a Chinese military company until DJI threatened a lawsuit, and the claims that when the DoD finally did offered up reasoning, it was filled with errors. So, yeah. Oh, there you go. So they've got basically the lawsuit. Somebody posted a DJI v. DoD complaint distributed by Vox.com, actually. So it's a 56-page complaint. We won't read it all. And there's a little rundown of stuff. The Department of Commerce added DJI to its entities list, banning U.S. companies from exporting technology to DJI after it enabled wide-scale human rights abuses within China through abusive genetic collection and analysis or high-technology surveillance, which, hell, we use that here. That we just talked about something called World that scans...
Right, exactly. Seems kind of along the same lines. And why is there a suit in 2024? Apparently, there was action as early as 2017.
Yeah, because it's been slow creeping.
Yeah.
Because DJI, I think, was acquired by a Chinese company. I don't think that it started out as that, but I could be wrong, though. In its defense, DJI repeatedly claimed that it isn't owned or controlled by the Chinese government, that it's had nothing to do with treatment of Uyghurs in Xinjiang, that it's simply selling drones that may be used for various purposes that are out of its control afterwards, that many of those purposes have helped entities, including first responders in the United States, and the independent audits by consulting firms and U.S. government agencies, including the DoD, have found no security threats. So there you go, folks. Take that. Let's move on. The next article and the last one for today is in Reality Hacker. Juiced bikes sold at auction for $1.2 million. Juiced Bikes, the San Diego-based maker of e-bikes, has been sold on an auction site for $1.2 million. And Nick Goat, go ahead.
Well, I mean, this is a little bit unusual, isn't it?
It's over at digitaltrends.com. I don't know. $1.2 million is actually kind of a small business in the grand scheme of things. And so $1.2 million to essentially buy the entire business.
But I guess, how many companies are sold on auction? Maybe it happens frequently, I don't know. But it seems like a lot of times there's like an offer or something.
On auction, correct. Yeah. I don't know about auctions. Businesses don't normally get sold at auction. Portions of them, IP might, technology might, but the business itself. Digital Trends recently reported how the company was showing signs of being on the brink of bankruptcy. The company and its executive had remained silent while the customers' inquiries went unanswered, and its website showed all products were out of stock. In addition, there were numerous reports of layoffs at the company, yet the most convincing sign was that the company's assets appeared as listed for sale on an auction website used by companies that go out of business. So, boom. They're more along the lines of they're going out of business. This auction is going to be used to close the books on juiced bikes. And I'm sure that somebody is going to take this product and rebrand them, and they're going to show up somewhere.
Right.
But it's interesting. Last year, Digital Trends named the Juiced Bikes Scorpion X2 as the best moped-style e-bike for 2023, citing its versatility, rich feature set, and performance. But they just didn't catch on. By the way, this was sourced by Nick Goat over at digitaltrends.com. So they're basically, showing that they called it like the best bike, but they can't change the process that this company was going through. The company had, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I went over to the auction site, Sold Tiger, and the top item is actually attached to Juiced Bike. It's a cargo van with their logo on it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, and that this whole thing is going to just get, unless somebody buys the IP and actually brings it into existence, back into existence, this thing is going to be done. And like Juiced is just going to, the label's going to get peeled off and a new one put on it. And
oh, fascinating. They're actually selling a lot of intellectual property on the same auction site.
Oh, really? How much is that?
Hold on. It's not clear.
Interesting.
I guess you just have to put in a bid or something.
Oh, really weird. I'll have to take a look.
I don't know. I don't have an account set up, so I can't really tell. But
so this whole report comes from Electric, which we should probably pay attention to, electric.co. Okay, well, that's it. That is our last article, and sorry for the break. We, for whatever reason, disconnected from Restream, and that kind of broke our connection. So I need to verify that we're actually one stream, and
right.
Otherwise I'm going to have to upload, or I'm going to have to stitch them all together, which I don't like doing. I don't like editing anything because it appears like I've edited something, and I don't like that inconsistency. So at any rate, we're going to hit the gavel 3 times, and we're going to end up back at the front page of ohmTown.com. And I'm going to say, see you later. We're going to reset and do Reality Hacker, and then Wanted, and then the continuity report. Yeah. So let's get out of here. You want to say bye, Sentient AI?
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non Sequitur News. Stay tuned. Be sure to like and subscribe so you know when we go live next.
Bye-bye. Oh my gosh.